a real hard thing for them. The distances, even they've got shortened diamonds, smaller diamonds, but that was a challenge. So the most important thing I learned, though, was in coach pitch, when you're pitching to them, and again, the defensive team has a girl standing by the pitcher's mound next to me, 90% of the balls are hit right back to the pitcher. So being all-knowing coach, I just drilled them and, okay, we're going to practice throwing from the pitcher's mound to the first base. No infield hits. We're not. Everybody's going to take a turn at pitching, and we're going to practice throwing. Catching the ball, get your catching position, pivoting, and throwing to first base. Well, as best as they could, even in a shortened mound, shortened distance diamond, it was problematic. So, we practiced a few times. Okay, we're close enough. First game, and there's a slaughter rule here of 5 runs, and if you don't get 3 outs and they score 5 runs, you sit down and you bat. The next team goes up. So needless to say, the game goes, an hour and a half, but usually the time limit comes up before the 6 innings runs out. And so we lost like 35-31. Nobody made outs. I mean, it was just you got your 5 runs and you sat down. So I said, this is not working. Not working, but what's that definition in CI? You keep doing the same thing. So all-knowing Coach Walt said, what's the solution? You just keep practicing more. Practice, practice, practice. Throwing them from the pitcher's mound to first base. We're going to just drill and practice more. Well, the next game comes and the parents are all in there, and there was no improvement in the first inning. Same thing. The girls are throwing it over their heads, or to the left, or to the right. I was right. I had the strategy right. 90% of the balls are going to the pitcher. But darn it, I couldn't figure out how to make that connection between the pitcher and the first baseman work. And so I got frustrated the second I said Eva was our pitcher. I said, Eva, just make it out any way you know how. The outs, you got to get to the base before them, the runner. Any way you know how, you make it. Eva, Eva is, so their coach is pitching to their girl. Ball's hit right back to Eva. All of my ingenious coaching, guess what Eva did? Ran, no. They tried that because they couldn't get, but they couldn't get there at the time. And these are dirt infields, they don't have grass. She rolled the ball to first base. And the first baseman girl caught it. All of my parents were going crazy. Wow, that's brilliant! Wow, that's brilliant! And the other coach comes running out to the umpire and says, they can't do that. And the umpire says, sure they can. All it is, you got the balls, you got to get to the base before the batter. That's there. And so we won the game. And she just kept rolling. The other girls, so all the girls were rolling. So in the fourth quarter, their team started rolling again. But it was too late because we had like a 10-run lead by that time. And the parents, it was purple. We were the Purple Penguins. That's my daughter, but to the right of that coach there. And look at her great fielding position there. So much for coaching. So anyways, the parents started calling us, instead of the Purple Penguins, the Rolling Thunder. So the game ends, the parents were ecstatic. So I called Eva over, and I said, Eva, can I ask you a question? And I said, what made you think of that? Rolling the ball, and she looked at me, and I said, rolling the ball to first base. What made you think of that? And she said, well, Coach, you said make it out any way we know how, and your way wasn't working. Got me over the feather, not a bat. I go, well, then I kind of got down, and I said, Eva, why didn't you share that with me before? When all these practice we're doing, field position, pivot, throw. Why didn't you share that with me before? That's really brilliant. And she kind of had her head down, how kids are, kind of had her down, wouldn't make eye contact with me, and she said, well, Coach, you never asked. Oh, man, that ripped me. And, so I sat, this all-knowing guy that knows everything about baseball and was humbled by a 7-year-old girl, not just in the context of baseball, but in the context of how I looked at things. And so, so that made me realize, this was in 97, 98, and made me realize, how does this, I sat on a bench there, all the parents had gone, even left. My daughter went back with some of the kids. And I sat on that bench for about an hour thinking about what she had said to me. And it made me realize, going back to the Realtor Association notes coming back, that what does this mean for me with respect to our volunteers? And what does it mean to me in terms of what I'm trying to do? Because I had this vision about building all the state and local resources. And it made me realize that, just like with those kids, they had a lot of great ideas that I never asked them. And so that's how all those services started, really, was me then coming back and saying, we really want to get this rolling. Let's start getting groups together. So every one of those circles you saw, those size service areas, people like realtors like yourselves and work group sizes, we meet, create programs, and one thing I learned about this organization, I tell every staff person that works at NAR, if we have a great idea, the members will fund it. And that, my friends, is what I credit the Purple Penguins for a lot of those service areas that I shared with you. And one of them I want to talk about, of the few that I want to highlight in the next few minutes, Realtor Party, the Action Center. What is it? This is one of those ideas, boy, back in 2000 I was thinking, NAR had a dysfunctional system of trying to get our members involved in calls for action. This is before, we always had this vision of getting our members involved, but we never could afford it, because how can you do snail mail to over 1 million members? Just couldn't afford it. So with the technology advancements, we finally found a software solution, and we call it the Realtor Action Center, but it's actually, that's how we're branding it, but it's a software called Convio. And it allows us to provide our members with a convenient tool two clicks, and you send a call for action off. It's that simple. Now, that's cool for the NAR, for federal calls for action. But again, for me, I'm thinking state and local. Okay, so again, a group of realtors saying, we need to offer this to our state and local associations. So right now, that software, we're providing, NAR is providing Hawaii Association and any local association, I'll get to that in a second, the software for free. And for your calls for action at the state level and at the local level. So as local leaders and state leaders here, you need to be aware that this is a very powerful tool that is made available to you. 49 of the 50 states are using it right now. This is in 3 years since we've offered it. And over 300 local associations. Now, even with the ease of that 2 clicks, I was sitting in strategic planning, the NAR Strategic Planning Committee a few weeks ago, and our research division came out with their new 2010 NAR members survey. Top 3 reasons that realtors, 3 responses that realtors identified in terms of their greatest opportunity in the coming year for them as business people: tax credit and interest rates, first-time home buyers, and short sales. All right, then what can NAR do to help with your greatest opportunity with respect to those 3 things they just identified? Top answer: continue lobbying. Now, that's not just federal, but state and local as well, really, when they're talking about this. It says NAR, but that most members aren't differentiating, I think, to that fine level of thinking. Top reason for not responding to calls for action, they put that in there. Guess what it is? I don't have time. I don't have time. Help me out, folks. So that's pretty incredible. Yeah, all it takes is those 2 clicks. Best source of assistance for that opportunity: my broker. Taking advantage of those 3 opportunities, the opportunities. So they're brokered. So remember that answer, my broker, because it goes to another idea that some of your colleagues came up with me in terms of how we're going to increase beyond the software, how we're going to increase our call for action response rates.